Okay, we're on Lesson 4, Aesthetic Zoning. We just finished bulk zoning. We're on Unit 3. I'm going to try and put all these in the title so you don't get lost on where we're at. If you need to review any of these zoning things, then this would be the video to watch. Aesthetic zoning is for density and type of use as well as good, but it falls short of creating cohesive neighborhoods and districts and preserving the charm of yesteryear. For that, we have aesthetic zoning. We'll specify, for instance, that all buildings in a neighborhood have to be a certain style, such as Victorian or Craftsman, in order to uphold the architectural integrity of an area. Now, personally, I like variety. I think it's very boring going into these neighborhoods where everybody looks exactly the same. But that's what they're doing a lot now in these new planning communities. I think the most appealing thing about these older communities is when everything looks slightly different from one another. But that's just my personal bias. Oh my God. Well, that is the shortest. I think we're going to do Lesson 5 too. What do you think? Because this is only a minute long. So I think we're going to do Lesson 4 and 5 on this video. If you want to zone out because you don't need down zoning, zone out, down out, whatever. You can go on. I'm going to try and remember to put 4 and 5 in the title. That is the shortest video I think I've ever had. All right, we're going to leave Jerry in the wings for a bit while we look at the process of down zoning. All right, what is down zoning? Let's look at our resource. Down zoning is the process of assigning a lower density use zone to an area. Sometimes this is done to limit sprawl and overgrowth of cities. Other times it's used for conservation or recreational purposes. Down zoning could be used when an area is built up with large apartment buildings and is cleared, and they want that area for single-family homes. Homeowners living in an area when down zoning occurs will usually be grandfathered in. That is, they are able to use that land for the same purpose they were used before the zoning change. And sometimes the value of adjacent properties can also be impacted by nearby zoning changes. Now, we talked about inverse condemnation on another video, and this occurs when the property value is diminished due to adjacent land being used for public use. So, homeowners who believe the down zoning has harmed their property value have to get assistance from a real estate attorney to make sure they get some of their money or compensation for this. This is called inverse condemnation, I believe, right here, not down zoning. Down zoning is the process of assigning a lower density use zone that was previously a higher density. Okay, if you need to take a screenshot, this would be a good one. You got your resource over here, and you got the question over here, okay? Now, you know what downsizing is, but do you know how to use it? Sometimes downzoning is used to limit sprawl and overgrowth of cities. It isn't used for conservation or recreational purposes. I believe it is. Homeowners living in an area when downsizing occurs will usually be grandfathered in, and homeowners adjacent to a downsized area that have harmed their property value can claim inverse condemnation. Inverse condemnation is an action the government takes against homeowners who complain publicly about downsizing decision that affected the value of their property. I believe whenever the government takes action, it is condemnation, but when a homeowner does it, it's inverse condemnation. Let's see if we're correct. Yes. So if you've been following along in these videos, we talked about this condemnation and inverse condemnation, and we talked about the difference, and we spent a lot of time going over the difference so that you'll know that when you come to your test. If you need to take a screenshot right now, would be a good one. And otherwise, I'm going to continue on. Okay, so I think we're going to do 3 lessons here because they're so short. And I don't like my videos being super short. I think 10 minutes for a video is pretty realistic. 1.5 minutes is way too short. All right, let's move on to lesson 6. Okay, enacting zoning changes. So let's look at this. Test to determine validity of zoning ordinances. Because zoning changes can significantly impact the use and therefore value of real property, they tend to be controversial. They can also raise serious issues as to individual rights and constitutionality. Zoning resides in the uncomfortable intersection of individual rights and public good. Because zoning can impact not just the community as a whole, but also individual property owners. Zoning changes are made, public hearings are held. So if you ever see those signs on the side of the road that says public hearing such and such date, and you do not want a zoning ordinance or you don't want some kind of new thing in your community, then you need to go to these public hearings and explain why, so that the government or whoever is making these decisions will know, will hear you, and they can make a reasonable and specific test for validity of whatever they're trying to do. They're going to look at whether it's discriminatory, if the property is if all the property is cohesive together, if it makes sense for the community, if it promotes public health, general welfare, if the change is going to be exercised in a reasonable manner. All these things are considered at the public hearing. And if you have concerns at all, then you need to go to these things. If it is going to affect your community in some capacity, then you need to go, because zoning changes can impact the use and value of real property and can be received as infringing on property's constitutional rights. It says that in here. Zoning changes can often enacted by local government without the public's involvement. Sometimes. We'll see if we're correct. Proposed law are examined for fairness and reasonability. There are a number of tests to determine the validity of each proposed zoning change. Oh my, we got them all right the first time. Oh my God. We definitely need to take a picture of that. Okay, so if you need to take any screenshots, you got this over here, this resource, which is a great one. You're standing in line at the supermarket, waiting in traffic. What else do we do? We're sitting on the plane, waiting for the plane to take off, the train, the subway. All these things you can, study while you're doing these things. Never waste your time. Your time's too valuable. I have a whole video on this thing. Not wasting your time. Studying for a test, make the use of it. All right, let's move on. Determining zoning ordinance validity. I'd be so glad when I don't have to keep saying this word. Before zoning changes are made, public hearings are held. Proposed zoning ordinance undergoes specific tests. So let's look at these tests. All right, this one is a test. How much revenue will bring? That's not a test. Is the power and changed in a reasonable manner? Yes. Are the ordinances discriminatory? Are they clear and specific? Do the ordinance apply to all properties in a similar manner? So the only thing it really doesn't check is to see if it's going to bring revenue. But usually if it promotes safety and general welfare, it will eventually bring revenue, but they are not going to check for that. That's not really their goal as they determine a new zoning ordinance. All right, so we are done with lesson 4, 5, and 6. We did all that in one video. It's still under 10 minutes. So we did pretty good. I think we should just go ahead and do 7 now. What do you think? I think so. I think we'll just do 7 now. Let's see. Maybe I'll start doing all of them like this and just combine a bunch of lessons in one. Maybe we'll just do the entire unit on one video. All right. The Sunshine Law. I've never heard of this, so let's see. The public does not get a say in local land use planning. This happens through open meeting law called the Sunshine Law. The Federal Freedom of Information Law says that all meetings of governmental agencies and their departments must be open to the public. We elected them, we pay their salaries, so we get to see what they're up to. The public has the right to view records of these meetings, and the Sunshine Law means that all meetings of these zoning boards, planning boards, and local zoning authorities are open to the public. And now that you know that, I expect to see you all at the next meeting of our local planning board. The Freedom of Information Act is a specific state law. The Sunshine Law is also known as the Open Meeting Law. The Sunshine Laws mean that all meetings of zoning boards, planning boards, local authorities are open to the public. The records of all these meetings are closed to the public. False. All right, let's check it. All right, I do know my Sunshine Law. I've actually never heard of this before, ever. So, anyway, if you need to screenshot any of this, here you go. The records are closed to the public. False. They are open. All right, this flashcard activity is going to be a separate video because some people just like doing flashcards, without, that's all they like to do for studying. So this will be a completely separate flashcard thing. Some people just use flashcards and don't even use anything else. So this is going to be a separate video completely by itself. If you're interested in this, this is what's coming up. It's the government's role in land use flashcards. Okay, so anyway, we are done. I appreciate you. That was 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4 lessons all in one video. And it was only about 12 minutes, believe it or not. 12 and a half minutes. Okay, so we might start doing that more in the future. I don't know. We'll see. I appreciate those who are actually sitting here watching these boring videos, right? I will see everybody else on the next one.